We're all chasing it. That next promotion, the bigger house, the better car. But what if I told you that one of history's wealthiest philosophers discovered that the pursuit of riches was actually making us miserable? Picture this. You're one of the richest men in the most powerful empire on earth. You have everything money can buy. Yet you wake up every morning feeling empty. This was Seneca, a man who lived in unimaginable luxury while teaching a secret that the wealthy elite didn't want you to know. The very thing you're chasing might be the reason you're unhappy. What if the path to true fulfillment is the exact opposite of what society has been telling you? In the next few minutes, you'll discover why having it all might mean losing everything that really matters, and how to make sure that doesn't happen to you. As we scroll through social media, bombarded by images of extravagant lifestyles and material excess, we might wonder, what truly matters in life? What gives us genuine worth? These are the questions that Seneca grappled with 2,000 years ago, and his answers might surprise you, and even change your life. Born in 4 BC in Córdoba, Spain, Lucius Annaeus Seneca rose to become one of the most influential figures in the Roman Empire. As a Stoic philosopher, successful playwright, and eventually the tutor and advisor to Emperor Nero, Seneca lived a life that straddled the worlds of immense wealth and philosophical wisdom. His unique position gave him an insider's view of the corrupting influence of wealth and power, while his philosophical training provided him with the tools to analyze and understand the true nature of value. This seeming contradiction, a wealthy man advocating for detachment from riches, wasn't lost on Seneca. He acknowledged it directly, writing, "I am not a wise man, nor will I ever be. Command me to be not equal to the very best, but better than the bad. This is enough for me, to take away daily something from my vices and correct my mistakes." When we talk about wealth today, we usually mean financial assets, property, or material possessions. Seneca understood wealth in a similar way, but he saw it as part of a broader category of externals, things that are outside of our control and not intrinsic to who we are. This included not just money and possessions, but also social status, power, and even physical beauty. But what's the problem with wealth? According to Seneca, there are several significant issues. First, material wealth is temporary and unreliable. Fortune is fickle, and what can be given can also be taken away. As he pointedly observed, it is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor. This constant craving for more creates a state of perpetual dissatisfaction and anxiety. Furthermore, wealth often brings with it a fear of loss. The more we have, the more we have to lose, and this fear can consume us. Seneca wrote, "The more possessions a man has, the more worry he has." How many of us can relate to this? The anxiety of protecting our possessions, the stress of maintaining our lifestyle, the fear of losing what we've accumulated. These are the hidden costs of wealth that we rarely consider. But perhaps the most insidious problem with wealth is that we often confuse it with true worth. We mistakenly believe that our value as human beings is tied to our net worth, that our significance can be measured in dollars and cents. This, Seneca argued, is a fundamental error that leads to a life of misguided pursuits and ultimate dissatisfaction. So if wealth doesn't constitute true worth, what does? For Seneca, the answer was clear: virtue and character. He identified 4 cardinal virtues that constitute genuine human excellence. First, wisdom, not just knowledge of facts, but the ability to understand what is truly important in life and act accordingly. Second, justice, treating others fairly and contributing to the common good. Third, courage, not just physical bravery, but moral courage to stand up for what's right and face life's challenges. And fourth, self-control, the ability to moderate our desires and remain steady in the face of temptation or adversity. These qualities, Seneca argued, have an inherent value that surpasses any material wealth. Why? Because unlike external possessions, they cannot be taken away from us. No thief can steal your integrity, no market crash can diminish your wisdom, no tyrant can remove your inner freedom. As Seneca put it, the good things which belong to virtue no one can give, and no one can take away. Moreover, these virtues provide something that material wealth never can: genuine happiness and tranquility. When we cultivate wisdom, justice, courage, and self-control, we develop an inner fortress that protects us from the vicissitudes of fortune. We become resilient, able to handle both prosperity and adversity with equanimity. Think about it. When you look back on your life, what are the moments you're most proud of? Is it the time you bought a luxury car, or the time you stood up for someone who needed help? Is it the size of your house, or the strength of your character in difficult times? Now you might be thinking, this all sounds good in theory, but how do we actually apply these ideas in our modern lives? Seneca, practical philosopher that he was, provided several concrete suggestions. First, regular self-reflection. Take time each day to examine your actions and values. Ask yourself, am I pursuing wealth at the expense of my character? Are my choices aligned with my principles? Seneca himself practiced this, writing, "When the light has been removed and my wife has fallen silent, aware of this habit that's now mine, I examine my entire day and go back over what I've done and said." Second, practice voluntary discomfort. Deliberately put yourself in situations where you have less than you're accustomed to. This might mean taking public transport instead of driving, eating simply for a week, or turning off your air conditioning on a hot day. The purpose isn't to glorify suffering, but to remind yourself that you can be happy and whole without the comforts you think you need. Third, cultivate gratitude. Regularly remind yourself of what you already have, both material and immaterial. Seneca advised, begin each day by telling yourself, "Today I shall be meeting with interference, ingratitude, insolence, disloyalty, ill will, and selfishness." This might sound pessimistic, but it actually helps us appreciate the good things we encounter and remain resilient in the face of challenges. In our modern context, these principles might look like choosing a job that aligns with your values over one that simply pays more. It might mean spending time developing skills and relationships rather than chasing status symbols. It could involve teaching your children about character and virtue rather than just preparing them for financial success. Now, let's address some common objections to Seneca's philosophy. First, but don't we need money to live? Seneca would agree. He wasn't advocating for poverty, but for the right relationship with wealth. He wrote, "I have a more just rule for you. Measure each thing by the standards appropriate to it. Money is a tool, nothing more. Use it for what it's good for, securing necessities and some comforts, but don't mistake it for the source of happiness or worth." Another objection might be, isn't this just justifying poverty? Not at all. Seneca was clear about the difference between choosing simplicity and being forced into it. The goal is not to be poor, but to be free, free from the tyranny of endless desires, free from the anxiety of loss, free to focus on what truly matters. And what about the apparent contradiction of Seneca's own wealth? He addressed this directly, arguing that a philosopher can have wealth as long as they possess it without anxiety and would be equally content without it. "The wise man is self-sufficient," he wrote, "but this does not mean he desires nothing. He can do without riches, but would prefer to have them." As we wrap up, let's remember the core of Seneca's message. True worth comes not from what we own, but from who we are. In a world that increasingly equates net worth with self-worth, this message is both revolutionary and liberating. Wealth, when properly understood, can be a useful tool, but it should never be the measure of our value or the primary goal of our existence. Instead, let us focus on developing the qualities that truly matter: wisdom, justice, courage, and self-control. Let us strive to be rich in character, abundant in virtue, wealthy in wisdom. As Seneca wisely noted, wealth is the slave of a wise man and the master of a fool. The choice of which we will be, master or slave, is ours to make. So let us choose wisely, remembering that our true worth lies not in our bank accounts, but in the content of our character and the quality of our choices. In the end, when all the material trappings fall away, what remains is who we are. And that, more than any amount of money or possessions, is what truly matters.